Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Hiking Journal, Wildhorse Peak in the Cleveland National Forest. Well, first of all, what'd you think about that last few episodes on the mystery of Bob's Ranch? It was definitely an adventure to say the least. Bummer I didn't find the cave. That would have been the highlight for sure. Kind of reminds me of all those TV shows when they go out looking for Bigfoot. They string you along till the end and they never find it. I always hated when they did that. I know how you feel, and I'll try to make it up to you somehow. In the meantime, come along with me from the Dripping Springs Campground just a stone's throw east of Temecula to the Wildhorse Trail as I head up through the brush to the top of an interesting summit with two split boulders on my way to Wildhorse Peak. Now, I've camped at the Dripping Springs Campground before with the kids when they were little, and we've made some great memories. I've also hiked up the Dripping Springs Trail from the end of the campground many times, including the last time when I ran into 8 snakes on my way to the summit of Agua Tibia Mountain. Just a short distance up the Dripping Springs Trail, there's a fork to the left and a well-placed sign for the Wildhorse Trail. I've been up that one too, but I've never been to the top, its namesake, Wildhorse Peak. The problem with the Wildhorse Trail is that it doesn't really have a destination like most hikes. Seems like most of the hikers just hike up the trail until they get tired of it and they turn around and head back. Not exactly what I'd call exciting. On my first adventure up the Wildhorse Trail, I hiked about 4 miles in or so, and I scrambled up to this little sub-peak with some great views. And while it was a nice hike, I longed for more. There just had to be more. The Wildhorse Trail is just that. It's a trail. It's not the Wildhorse Peak Trail, and it doesn't get to the top of anything, especially the peak. Now, looking at the map, the trail skirts the left side of the peak a few hundred feet below it, as I found that on this hike. And the used trail to the top is not only tough to find, it's tough to get up as this makeshift path is loose, sandy, and steep. According to All Trails, my favorite hiking app, the Wildhorse Trail heads up into the Agua Tibia wilderness for an 11.7-mile round-trip hike. The official Cleveland National Forest page lists the hike as 10.1 miles and kind of echoes what I was saying earlier. Adventurous hikers looking for a greater length can use connecting trails to provide varying distances and difficulties. I guess they're referring to the Palomar Maggie Trail that connects the top with the Dripping Springs Trail from the right, and it makes a giant but difficult loop of about 25 miles. The beginning of the trail is reached by hiking up the Dripping Springs Trail for about a quarter mile. The Wildhorse Trail then climbs through a pair of switchbacks and begins ascending along the south canyon wall of Arroyo Seco Creek, which is all but dry except for during the rainy season, and we'll get a lot closer look at that a little later. Along the trail, hikers get scenic views of Vail Lake, Lake Skinner, and the Temecula Valley with rows of vineyards. The trail is best completed during the cooler months, particularly during spring when rain fills the creeks and streams with flowing water, and I've really never seen that one. It's also recommended for moderately experienced hikers. Well, I was excited about the chance to finally get to the summit of this forlorn little peak that everybody passes right by and never ever gets to visit. So let's head up into the Agua Tibia wilderness of the Cleveland National Forest and start our hike from the Dripping Springs Campground just east of Temecula. Well, good morning and welcome back to another edition of the Journal. I'm kind of quiet this morning because it's so peaceful here today. It's been really quiet ever since I left the car. Not a sound, not a bird, nobody stirring around. And I'm going to be heading up technically the Dripping Springs Trail for just a short distance, and I'm going to hit a junction where the Dripping Springs Trail continues straight up and the Wildhorse Peak Trail goes to the left. That's where I'm heading today. But first I got to sign in on the register, even though it's wet. Looks like today, nobody signed in yet today. There was 2 cars at the trailhead today. I think today is the 12th. So I'll go ahead and do that so they know that I'm here. And then we're going to be heading up that way. Ought to be a pretty good hike today. It ought to be about 8 to 10 miles, somewhere in that range. We're in the sandals today. I'm going to be moving pretty quick. I was going to bring some coffee and brew some coffee at the turnaround, and I left it on the workbench at home. Damn. So anyway, I do have some energy gels and some things to get me through. I've got about 3 liters of water. It's going to be nice and cool today. It's going to be, well, it's going to be probably in the low 80s, but it's nice and damp because we've got a thunderstorm that went through here yesterday and drenched the whole place. So that ought to keep the dust down. Hopefully it's not too muddy. And I probably won't see anybody today. Maybe one person if I'm lucky. Last time I was up here on the Dripping Springs Trail, I ran into 8 rattlesnakes. 8. You know, I've been up this trail a bunch of times. In fact, I've already shot, I think, 2 or 3 videos on the Dripping Springs Trail and another one on the Wildhorse Trail. And so I might not shoot as much video as you're used to, but if I see anything interesting, I'll definitely share it with you. But kind of smells funny down here. Kind of stinks. I don't know if it's because the brush is wet or what. It's got kind of an odor to it. It must be because everything is so damp. Also, this is the western arroyo toad mating area down there in the wash. There is a couple of months when they close the back half of the campground. It's usually like April, early April, March, April, May, somewhere in there. And they close some other campgrounds here too because the western arroyo toad is on the endangered species list. But we're going to be heading up this way in the fog. And when I get to that junction, I got to be careful because last time I was there, I saw a huge rattlesnake. And I've only been up the trail 5 minutes. I've already come to the junction. The Wildhorse Trail is going to shoot off that direction. Dripping Springs Trail is going to be heading up this way, up the ridge line. And you can see a little patch of blue up there. So I'm going to be heading that way in this thick brush. This place gets really hot in the summer. You don't want to be up here in the summer, but today it's going to be nice. Now the Wildhorse Trail doesn't get the volume that the Dripping Springs Trail gets, so it's a little more narrower in spots. And as we get further down, you're going to see it's going to turn into pretty much a single track. And there is some spots where there is some exposure down to the left. You also get a good view of Arroyo Seco Creek down there in the bottom. And last time I was up here, it was kind of funny. I was thinking, well, you know, it can't be too bad. And I slipped. Part of the trail gave way. I almost took a tumble. And I saw that from the last post on All Trails. Somebody else said the same thing. They almost took a tumble as well. So I know where that section is. I'll just have to be a little more careful. And I can see the trail ahead of me working its way up switchback. Well, I don't know if you can see that through the fog. The Dripping Springs Campground is right there. You can see how far up I've come just in 15 minutes. And the Arroyo Seco Creek is down there. It's actually a really scenic area. You're not really supposed to be down there, but I actually have gone down there a few times. Just for short little lunch breaks sometimes. I'll scoot down there along the creek and take a break in the shade sometimes, make lunch. And you can see where we're going. Wildhorse Peak is probably, I don't think it's that one. It's probably one behind that. I'm not really sure without getting the map out. But the trail is going to be working its way up here. You can see a little indentation right there in the trail. It's going to work its way back to the right of that ridge line and then back around to the left. It's going to go around and back in and around and back in a couple of times. And eventually it'll work its way down to that tree clump down there and work its way to the right. And then we'll start bending further to the right, which will be heading south. Right now we're heading almost due east. And we'll see. Looks like we got a couple little blue patches right there. See if this marine layer breaks. Actually, right now it feels good. I'll take advantage of it. Well, here's another view. I've been climbing uphill, so I got to stop for a second, catch my breath. Another view of Arroyo Seco Creek as I'm heading up to the right. It's pretty steep, right here at least. Really, someone's going to smoke on the trail and drop their cigarette butt. You got to be kidding me. Well, as I'm continuing east along the ridge line here, you can see Arroyo Seco Creek again. that continues further to the east, a little bit to the north. And at one spot down here, there's actually on the trail map, there's a little indentation. There's a dashed line of a trail that goes down into the creek from up here. And last time I was up here, I looked for it and I didn't see any sign of it. So maybe, 20, 30 years ago, there was a used trail down there and nature has taken it back. I also read from a post just about a week ago that there was a lot of, a little downhill section here, quite a bit of poison oak up here. And I do remember seeing one section that has poison oak, but not a lot. And this time of year, it's not that bright green leaves of 3 that you normally think of when you think of poison oak. Since it's early part of fall, you would think that by now it would be starting to turn yellow and orange. You might even get a little bit of fiery red. And you can tell that the trail is definitely a little narrower here. And there is a good couple 100 feet runoff to the left, but you wouldn't go far. You'd end up ass over tea kettle down in the bushes somewhere. It's a good shot of the wash again. All right, I had to stop just to get this little quick shot of Arroyo Seco Creek again as I'm continuing to the right. Up that way somewhere, actually, I think you can see the cut in the trail and that where the two ridge lines converge. I think I'm going to be going around that point right there and working my way to the right side of that peak right there, which could very well be a wild horse. And you can see the trail cut on the ridge right there across from me. Only problem is I have to go way back here to cross the head of this canyon. You can tell probably certain times of the year this probably has water running down it. See the moss on the rocks, and they've also got some reinforcements here to prevent runoff. And back in the distance you can see the trail as I was working my way to the head of that canyon. I've already done that. Now I'm working my way up around this next ridge. Well, you can tell how the trail is going. I'm down here working my way actually downhill toward the canyon bottom. And I've lost a ton of elevation. I kind of forget that you lose this much, which means, guess what? We got to climb up this on the way back. So, got to remember that as we're working our way down toward the Arroyo Seco Creek. I do have this on a map, and I actually have it on all trails, and I had it downloaded for off-trail use. So when I get around this, I'm pretty sure I got to go around that point because like I said, I've been here before. So, and I looked up my prior YouTube videos, and it was almost exactly 1 year ago to the day. So I don't know. It's weird how your body gets used to certain things, and creature of habit, I guess. I have seen a couple of wild cucumber. Nothing that's green like those right there. And obviously there's ribbonwood, manzanita. That's all this stuff right here. And lots of oak brush. Lots of rocks. But it's not a big deal for the sandals. I don't have any trouble at all with these. I can pretty much go anywhere in these. I've never had an issue. You'd think that a rocky trail would be rough. It's actually the sandy trails that are rough as we're working our way back into the head of this canyon again. And I still haven't seen any poison oak. I know it's here, I just haven't seen it yet. Be careful here. See, there's oak brush, but that's not poison oak. This looks like poison oak territory. And also, too, looks like we got a maple here somewhere. Look at those leaves. Or it's a sycamore. Oh, it's over there. I see it. All right, how cool is this? Looks like some kind of a water crossing. Looks like we've got baby. I don't know if those are sycamores or maples. I think they're sycamores, probably. They haven't started to turn yet. I remember this spot. I always thought I'd see a snake here. Haven't yet. Doesn't mean they're not here, but that's a creek of some kind that I'm sure has seasonal water. And look at the size of this giant oak tree. It's impressive, huh? There's a big yucca back there as well. And there's I think it is a sycamore right there. And there's our poison oak. And it's mingled in there with the rest of this stuff, so you got to be careful. Sometimes it's hard to tell what's what, but when you see it, and especially when you see it turn colors, then you know. Whew, I'm going to take a break here for a second. As the clouds are finally starting to give way, Arroyo Seco Creek's down at the bottom of the right. And you can see that ridge line straight ahead. That's the trail I was on as I came around the corner. Went into that canyon, out around that point, back into that canyon, out around that point, back into that canyon, out around that point, and into this canyon. Now I'm working my way out here. And I have to continue going to the right, which is more like a northeast direction. And eventually I'll make a turn, head decidedly south. And that'll head toward, I guess, the southeast slope of Wildhorse Peak. It's like it's going to be a nice day today. Haven't seen anybody, haven't seen any snakes. That's a good thing, I guess. Well, I've been hiking for just a hair over, a little bit over an hour. And kind of getting a little tired. I can see a couple of different peaks. One has got a really pointy rock outcrop on the top. Hopefully that's not it, because that's way up there. But got a great view looking down toward the creek down there. And right now I'm facing due east. So I think now is the time to pop one of my first energy gels. I know I got a couple in here somewhere. I brought like 3 of them today. Let's see what I got. Oh good, this is a hammer gel. These are my favorite right here, these hammer gels. These things right here, these are way better than the Stingers or Cliff Shots. They're just hard to find. I had to buy these online. Well, that one's good. It's almost like a dreamsicle, if you know what a dreamsicle is. Like a vanilla and orange cream mixture. Yeah, that one's really good. I have to remember that one. The only thing that's bad about all these type of goos is they're sticky. And no matter how bad you try, you always end up with something on your fingers, and then you touch something, next thing you know, you got dirt stuck to the sticky stuff. And these have about 80 calories, something like that, 80, 90 calories. Some have a little more, and they have about, I think, 40 grams of carbohydrates, which is going to help. I noticed I went down a lot. That means I got a ton of elevation to go. Great big jet up there somewhere. Clouds are starting to break up. So I'll take a minute here. Maybe I'll pull out the map and look around and see where I'm at and see how much farther I have to go before I start working my way up to the top. I can see my trail going that way up that edge of that ridge line. So this might be the curve right here. It might be back over there. Oh, kind of looking at something over there. It looks like, hopefully that's a bush, because it looks like ears sticking up above the top of a bush. It's way up there. Oh, not a mountain lion. I don't think so. I think it's just a bush, but it hasn't moved. I'm gonna keep my eye on it for a minute. Anyway, it's supposed to be about 85 today. It's gonna be warmer once this cloud cover blows off. But I feel pretty good today. Moving pretty quick. Ought to be a good hike. All right. Well, now I'm out in the open, and I've got a great view down here of the creek. And way at the top, up there, is that pointy rock. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that up there, but that pointy outcrop up there, it's kind of cool. Well, I've kind of come along the edge of this ridge here, and I'm going to be working my way to the right up this canyon, and Wildhorse is to my right. Should be working my way up here pretty close to the shoot off to the summit. And I remember this turn right here from last time when I was up this way. Around this canyon over here to the right, if I remember correctly, there was a use trail that went to the top up here, and that wasn't Wildhorse Peak. It was another lesser known summit. But what was cool about it was it had great views from up there. And I was kind of tired, and I was carrying a lot more stuff than I am today. And I scrambled up there and took some pictures. It was actually kind of neat. But since I've already been there, I'm not going to do that today. Keep plugging ahead, looking for Wildhorse. And you know what? Wildhorse could very well be that one over there. Remember I was talking about that use trail that went to the right to that other peak? Well, this is it right here. I knew it was close. It's actually kind of cool. It goes up, works its way up there. It's, for the most part, cleared. Enough people have been up there. Got great views from up there. Maybe on the way back, we'll check it out. All right, well, this is new territory for me. I haven't been this far in the Wildhorse Trail before. Like I said earlier, that spur trail back there was where I went last time, up to the top of that little sub-peak. And in fact, from here, you can see the cut, and you can see the top right there. So we're going to continue to the right as we're working our way toward Wildhorse. And I bet you it is that peak with that funny looking rock. Well, it looks like this side must get a significant amount of moisture. Look at that bright green moss. Whew. I needed a break anyway. I was getting tired. I noticed this a few minutes ago. As I'm getting farther up the trail here, I'm noticing some really odd shapes on the rocks here. Don't know if that's a wear pattern or what that is. It's big, huge boulders. Like giant cannonballs. As I'm working my way up, I rounded a corner. I'm continuing around the backside now, heading due south. My guess is I'm going to be going further to the south and then to the right. And I'm not too far from the junction up to the top. And we'll see how overgrown it is. Well, I worked my way over this little rise, and it drops down to a whole nother valley. It's kind of interesting. Over that way is High Point Lookout. I believe it's up there in the clouds, that little point. That's the highest point of the ridgeline as it works its way to the right, which is west. I'm kind of hoping that that right there is Wildhorse. I'm not sure. There's another one of those lizards slinking his way through the bushes. Anyway, my trail's continuing to the right
Oh, and there is, looks like 2 hikers coming. I see them in the bushes. Well, I'm working my way over to hopefully find the junction where the Wildhorse Trail goes up to the top of Wildhorse. Just ran into 2 hikers. 2 gals. They were on a day hike up here and super nice. Sound like they were fairly new to the hiking world, so I gave them a couple of tips. Told them about some great trails to go on. It's always exciting when you meet somebody else that, especially somebody that doesn't have the knowledge or the locations of some great spots. You can turn them on to some new places to go, and hopefully they'll take my advice, go out to Eagle Rock, maybe Garnett Peak. How cool would that be, huh? Anyway, ooh, a little bit of shade, I'll take it. It's starting to heat up. In a minute here, I'll check my phone again, see how close I am to that turnoff. Well, I came around this corner, and down below me there, it looks like a ton of grapevines. I don't even know what this is. And I live here. So High Point Lookouts to the right, I can see the fire tower. This could be, what is it, Willow Creek or something like that? A vineyard? Wow, this is massive. Well, Wildhorse Peak is up there somewhere. I don't know which one of those. Could be something that I don't see that's on the other side. Those could be false summits. My trail is going straight away. You can see that. So it works this way, that direction. But according to the All Trails map, the turn's coming up real soon. So I got to keep my eye out for it. And I'll pop another hammer gel before I start heading up. I'm getting kind of tired. You know, as I was coming around the corner, I stopped right here for a minute and took a swig of water, and I thought this is as good a spot as any to check all trails again. And I looked down and I noticed a part of a Wildhorse Trail right here, and I saw this, a couple of rocks right there. I think this is our Karen. I think that's it. Working its way up. I'm going to take a minute here, catch my breath, recuperate a little bit, get rehydrated, take another energy gel, and I got some climbing to do. And the sun's out, marine layer's gone, and it's getting hot. Do have some pretty good thunderheads building in the distance. It's kind of cool, huh? Anyway, I'm not too far from the top. Probably be there in a half hour. Geez, when they said it was sandy and it was a steep climb, they weren't kidding. That's the easy part right there. I had to use my my tripod as an ice axe. I had to jam it in. It was so sandy, I had to go up 2 feet, slide down 1.5 feet. Thank God there were a few places where there were little small indentation pockets from previous hiker. I was able to plant it in there, but even then it would just give away as soon as you put your weight under it. And of course, obviously being in sandals makes it more difficult, but I don't think it would matter. I think if you were in boots, you'd be doing the same thing. At least there's a little cloud, give me a little bit of a relief. Well, you can see where I'm heading, straight up there somewhere. It's not quite as steep right here, believe it or not. And thank God for that little thunderstorm we got yesterday. It's probably making it a little more compact than it would have been. Well, this is one tough mother. I've been up steep climbs before, but I just keep slipping back. And it's not the sandals, it's just that it's just so gravelly up here. If you grab some of these bushes for support, 2 of them just pulled right out. Well, I'm hoping what's ahead of me here is the top and not a false summit, because I'm tired. All right, well, we'll see what we got here. If I can find the footprints of the other hiker. That's what I'm doing. And I have a feeling this is a false summit. Yep. Damn. I'm getting there. Got a great view. That's San Jacinto way over there. And that's where I'm heading. Looks like the trail isn't quite as bad. So somewhere up there is the summit. I don't know which one. Well, I'm not too far from the top of Wildhorse Peak. I think I can see it up there. It's definitely taking its toll. My knee's starting to hurt a little bit. It's that loose stuff, man. It's not the distance, it's not the steepness. It's that loose, like talus, like a decomposed granite that's just crumbling. And the minute you put your foot on there, you take a step and it just slides right back. I was grabbing onto bushes. This kind of reminds me of when I was up on Margarita Peak over by Camp Pendleton. It was like this. It was straight up, it was loose, and I was hanging on to brush, and it's going to be interesting going down. I wouldn't doubt if I fall coming down. It's going to be really slippery. I'm going to have to really be careful. My guess is I'll have to open up this tripod and rely on it almost like a trekking pole, maybe going down for that little third leg extra support. We'll see. But the sun's out now and I'm roasting. I'm not too much farther. I'm going to keep going. Well, how's this for an interesting looking rock, huh? And it looks like I'm getting close. Lots of cairns at the upper elevation. Not so many down below. There's a lot up here. Well, like I said, I'm getting close. And lots of cairns here. Definitely some interesting looking boulders. Well, I made it to the top of Wildhorse Peak in the Cleveland National Forest. It was quite a scramble to get to the top here. It was pretty brutal, and it wasn't so much the brush as far as being able to get around it and stuff. You know, the trail was wide enough for the most part. It's just that it was loose, and I was slipping and sliding a lot. And so far on this side, I climbed all the way up to the middle of the crack of those two boulders, and I haven't seen a benchmark, haven't seen a summit register, but we've got pretty tremendous view from up here, as you can imagine. And it makes it a little better today that there's some clouds. But I'm going to go around the other side over here and see if I can find a summit register. It'd kind of be disappointing to get all the way up here to get to the top and then not be able to sign the register, you know what I mean? All right, here's another view of the top of Wildhorse Peak from the other direction. And I still haven't found a benchmark or a summit register. Oh well. Another shot of Vale Lake way down there. On the other side of the shadow. There definitely is some interesting boulders. Look at that one over there. You want to know something funny? I scrambled up there, went along those boulders, and just on a whim, I decided to check my All Trails app. That's not the summit. There's another trail right here, going over to that direction. That's Wildhorse over there. Not nearly as interesting, but it looks like that's where I got to go. Well, it's kind of a letdown to find out you climbed to the top of the peak and it wasn't even the right one. That's what you get for not checking the map earlier. But this kind of reminds me of a similar trail on the way up to Agua Tibia. I ran into that great big western diamondback. So I gotta be careful. And even at a post from All Trails, somebody said they saw a big one up here. Keep my eyes open. There's another cairn as I'm getting close again to Wildhorse Peak. Well, over there, that was the other rock I was at. And I'm working my way. Oh, geez. Still slippery even over here to the top of that. Pretty sure that's the top. Wildhorse. And the clouds are moving in. You might even see a little thunder action on the way down. All right, well, let's try this again. This will be my second attempt at Wildhorse Peak. I think this is actually the real Wildhorse Peak, not the false Wildhorse. There's no interesting boulders up here. Oh, in fact, this must be it, because there's a summit register right there. Hopefully there's a benchmark around here somewhere, as I'm pretty much almost in the clouds now. Okay, well, I have finally arrived at the top of Wildhorse Peak in the fog. As the clouds have moved in, that's way down there in the bottom of that. Down there is the Dripping Springs Campground. And now since the fog and clouds have moved in, you really can't see as much. But at least I did find the location of the summit register. It's right there. I don't know what that marking's supposed to signify, who knows? At least I made it. Time for a good break, huh? I deserve this one. It's tough. This looks like my summit register right here. I can sign in on the top. Wildhorse Peak out here in the Cleveland National Forest. Looks like they got a nice waterproof jar. Let's see when the last person was here. Ashley Matzov, 10-1. So it's been, it's not too long ago, I guess. Sign in here. All right. Sign away. Make it official. I made it to the top up here of Wildhorse. Put it back in here so it doesn't get wet. And take a break. Well, I got to tell you, you know, being up here at the top of Wildhorse Peak, it's kind of a shitty peak. There's nothing up here. The other one was more interesting. And of course, being up here in the fog, I mean, I can see the valley and I can see little bits of things in between the fog pockets, but for the most part, at least today, it's, you know, kind of not the greatest place to be. I have a view off the other side, the other direction too as well, looking up toward Palomar Ridgeline. I can see High Point Lookout right over there, and probably on a day when I wasn't in the clouds, I could probably see the observatory. But today I'll just have to be grateful that I made it up here without falling. We'll see what happens going down. It's going to be rough going down, I can tell you that right now. See what I'm saying? This is very slippery. And it's not that I don't have traction. It's just that the trail gives away as you're going down. And it's steep. And you can see footprints. I'm kind of almost screeing down. But I'll tell you what, going down's a lot easier than going up. But you do need a free hand, that's for sure. I can see the trail down there, but this was the hard part, because this is slick. It's like BBs on a concrete floor. I'm holding on to the bushes right here, because every time you grab something, it just gives away under your feet. Like that branch just broke off. And I'm slowly inching my way down. Hanging on for dear life here. And this isn't the end of it. Well, I'm working my way back along the trail, back toward the Dripping Springs Campground. And I feel better now that, number one, there's some shade. Number two, there's a little bit of a breeze. And the pressure is off to actually make the summit. I was nervous coming down. And I got off trail at one point, but luckily I realized the error of my way is within about 30 feet. So I was having to go back up And there wasn't any cairns up there in this one spot. And there was 2 possible avenues, and one of them ended in a pile of brush. So I had to claw my way back uphill, and I found it. And I had to use my tripod as a trekking pole going down, and had to grab onto the bushes with my other hand. Should have worn gloves. And I scraped up against quite a bit of brush. I'm not too cut up, but I am going to have to do a really thorough tick check when I get home, because God knows what I got on me right now. An alligator lizard, maybe? He's got stripes on his back. He's thinking about moving. And believe it or not, I'm starting to get a couple of raindrops. Nothing big, just a few drops here and there. Not enough to even really get me wet. And there's a cloud overhead, but it's more white than black. But it's I'm actually getting some pretty good raindrops right now. Feels pretty good. It's coming from that cloud behind me there. I wouldn't mind if it rained a little more. I'll take it. All right, well, it's starting to come down a little better now, so I'm going to have to stop filming and put everything away. I don't want to get everything all wet. But it feels pretty good, actually. I actually have a, believe it or not, in this vest, I've got a little micro light rain shell. That's more water resistant than waterproof, but it'll keep the water off me. But you know what? I'll take it right now. It feels good. But when I get to a spot here in a second, I'm gonna go ahead and put everything away until it stops. Well, I had to break out the rain shell. It's coming down pretty good. It's coming from this big dark cloud above me. I got to get way around. I have like at least three more ridge lines to get around. So it's going to be raining on me for a while, I think. Oh well, feels good right now. Well, that was a tough hike. That was probably every bit of 10 miles. And tell you what, man, that scramble to the end, that was something else. That was brutal. And I'm glad that's over. And now I get to have me a beer and celebrate the fact that I made it to the top of Wildhorse Peak, man. I didn't think I was ever going to get there. Oh, man, I didn't think I was ever going to get to that peak up there. That was tough. A lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I didn't check the total miles. Let me see what I got here. On my, I got my old grandpa glasses on here. Looks like 11.6 miles, 5 hours and 14 minutes. 11.6 miles. Wow. Twenty-six thousand steps. I wonder what my maximum elevation 3505. The high point 154 beats per minute for the pulse. I was probably going up that slope at the end. Average was 116. You don't really need that information, but it's kind of nice to know. It wasn't easy. This was a tough hike. I got rained on.
Well, that'll do it for this edition of the Hiking Journal, my summit of Wildhorse Peak in the Cleveland National Forest. In the next edition of the journal, I take a solo hike out near Julian, California, and take on Eagle Peak. On this adventure, I hit the trail right after an early storm, and I get a little rained on, a little hailed on, and take in some of the most beautiful mountain views in all of eastern San Diego County. That'll all be coming up next in Eagle Peak from the Three Sisters Trail. Don't forget to click the like and subscribe buttons to get the latest editions as I post them. With the winter right around the corner, I hope to get in some more exciting adventures right here in the Hiking Journal. Anyway, take care and I'll see you down the trail. Bye-bye.